On December 1st, 1949, a cry of a baby was heard. This baby was no ordinary baby. It was Colombia's legendary crime lord, Pablo Escobar. Though widely known as the infamous cocaine king, Escobar didn't gain the position by chance. He made some drastic decisions to place him on the wanted list of the law. These decisions also afforded him a very extravagant lifestyle. He had way more money than he could spend. This is the story of Pablo Escobar and how he built his billion-dollar empire. Lowly birth. Escobar was born into a poor family of 7 children in Rio Negro. His father was a farmer while his mother was a teenager. Times were tough and he eventually had to drop out of school as his family didn't have enough money to support his education. Being dirt poor didn't sit well with young Escobar, so he took his first step into the world of crime in the city of Medellin, where he grew up. His first illegal venture involved selling fake diplomas. He soon expanded his operations to include falsifying report cards. From there, he moved on to smuggling stereo equipment and even stealing tombstones to resell them. He and his brother would raid graveyards and steal the tombstones there. Then they will sand down the name on the stone and resell them as new tombstones. With the use of a forged high school diploma, he went to college briefly. He wanted to become a criminal lawyer and even the president, but he decided to focus on earning money instead. By the time he was 22 years of age, he had already earned $1 million from petty theft. Not long after that, Escobar established himself as a drug smuggler. By the mid-1970s, he played a pivotal role in founding what would become the infamous Medellin cartel. Plata o Plomo. Escobar soon escalated to more violent crimes. He hired criminals to kidnap people who owed him money, demanding ransoms. In some cases, he even tore up the ransom notes after receiving the money. One of his most infamous kidnapping victims was businessman Diego Echevarria. In the summer of 1971, Echevarria was kidnapped and eventually killed, despite Escobar receiving a $50,000 ransom from the Echevarria family. This kidnapping made Escobar's gang notorious. 4 years later, Escobar went a step further to inscribe his name into the Crime Hall of Infamy. He ordered the murder of Fabio Restrepo, Medellin's most powerful drug lord at the time. Shortly after this incident, Escobar was arrested for the first time. However, the case against him was dropped after he orchestrated the murder of all the arresting officers. This act solidified his reputation and instilled fear among the people. His very name was terror itself. Escobar had already been involved in organized crime for about a decade when the cocaine trade began to take off in Colombia in the mid-1970s. He was not only an established cocaine genius, but had also co-founded the Medellin cartel. His rapid ascent in this illegal trade drew the attention of the Colombian Security Service, also known as DAS, who arrested him in May 1976 upon his return from a drug smuggling trip to Ecuador. DAS agents discovered 39 kilograms of cocaine hidden in the spare tire of Escobar's car. However, Escobar's cunning and resourcefulness were on full display during his trial. He managed to replace the first judge on his case and bribed the second one, resulting in his release along with other prisoners. He held a grudge though, as the following year, the agent who had arrested him was assassinated. This marked the beginning of Escobar's strategy of bribing and intimidating Colombian law enforcement and officials, a tactic that became infamous as silver or lead, meaning money or death. Both the Medellin and Cali cartels succeeded in bribing Colombian politicians and supporting candidates from both the conservative and liberal parties. Escobar, along with other Colombian drug lords, wielded significant influence at every level of the government, as many of the political candidates they financially backed ended up being elected. Although the Medellin cartel was only created in the early 1970s, it grew rapidly after Escobar met with several other drug lords on a farm in April 1978. And by the end of the year, they had moved approximately 19,000 kilograms of cocaine to the United States. Rise to infamy. As demand for cocaine skyrocketed in the United States, Pablo Escobar ramped up his smuggling operations, establishing distribution networks in California, South Florida, Puerto Rico, and other parts of the country. He collaborated with cartel co-founder Carlos Leder to set up a new transshipment point in the Bahamas on an island called Norman's Cay, about 220 miles southeast of the Florida coast. Escobar and financier Robert Vesco bought most of the land on the island, which featured a 3,300-foot airstrip, a harbor, a hotel, houses, boats, and aircraft. They even built a refrigerated warehouse to store cocaine. From 1978 to 1982, Norman's Cay became a crucial smuggling route for the Medellin cartel. The immense profits from this operation allowed Escobar to buy 7.7 square miles of land in Antioquia for several $1 million. Business was at its peak. The Medellin cartel controlled the cocaine trade, generating an astonishing $420 million weekly and making its leader one of the richest individuals globally. Pablo Escobar, with an estimated fortune of $25 billion, had vast resources at his disposal, which he freely spent. Among Pablo Escobar's lavish properties, the most notable was Hacienda Nápoles, a sprawling 7,000-acre estate situated between Bogotá and Medellin. Named after Naples, Italy, it reportedly cost $63 million to build. The estate boasted a soccer field, dinosaur statues, artificial lakes, a bullfighting arena, and even the burnt remains of a classic car collection destroyed by a rival cartel. It also featured an airstrip, a tennis court, and a zoo. Not just any zoo, an exotic zoo. The private zoo housed around 200 animals, including elephants, ostriches, zebras, camels, and giraffes. Many of these creatures were smuggled into the country aboard Escobar's drug planes. The front gate of Hacienda Nápoles was topped with the plane Escobar used on his first drug run to the U.S. In spite of his best efforts, Escobar couldn't spend all of his amassed wealth, and a significant portion of it was stored in warehouses and fields. Approximately 10%, totaling $2.1 billion annually, was lost due to rats, exposure to the elements, or simply misplaced. Mucho dinero. Escobar was not just known for his criminal activities, he was also involved in philanthropy in Colombia. He spent millions of dollars improving some of Medellin's poorest neighborhoods. Escobar built housing complexes, parks, football stadiums, hospitals, schools, and churches. He paid his cocaine lab staff generously as well. Now, he was infamous in the underworld, and he had billions of dollars to his name, so he decided he wanted public fame as well. Hence, in the 1980s, Escobar ventured into politics. He supported and participated in the founding of the Liberal Party of Colombia, and by 1982, he had successfully entered the Colombian Congress. Although he was only a substitute, he was given parliamentary immunity and the right to a diplomatic passport under Colombian law. As Escobar's charitable work continued, he gradually became a public figure and earned the nickname Robin Hood Paisa. He was Colombia's Robin Hood. However, with so much money flying all over the place, people wanted to know where he got his money from. So, he claimed that his fortune came from a bicycle rental company he established when he was 16 years old. In Congress, Escobar faced a new opponent, Minister of Justice Rodrigo Lara Bonilla, who accused him of criminal activity from day one. Lara Bonilla's subordinates investigated Escobar's 1976 arrest, and a few months afterward, Liberal leader Luis Carlos Galán dismissed Escobar from the party. Despite his efforts to fight back, Escobar announced his retirement from politics in January 1984. Just 3 months later, Lara Bonilla was murdered. Escobar just doesn't let go. Throughout the mid-1980s, Escobar targeted the Colombian judiciary. He bribed and murdered several judges while seeking a deal with the government to allow his conditional surrender without extradition to the U.S. He even went as far as offering $10 billion to pay his country's debt if this meant he would be exempt from this treaty. When this proposal was initially rejected, Escobar founded and implicitly supported the Los Extraditables organization, which aimed to combat the extradition policy. This organization was accused of attempting to prevent the Colombian Supreme Court from reviewing the treaty. On November 6, 1985, a far-left guerrilla group attacked the Colombian Judiciary building, resulting in the deaths of half the Supreme Court justices. Although Escobar wasn't directly linked, the Los Extraditables organization was suspected of supporting the attack. In late 1986, the Supreme Court declared the extradition treaty illegal because it had been signed by a presidential delegation rather than the president himself. However, this victory was short-lived. The new president, Virgilio Barco Vargas, quickly renewed the agreement with the United States. However, Escobar still harbored a grudge against Luis Carlos Galán for expelling him from politics. As a result, Galán was assassinated on August 18, 1989 under Escobar's orders. Escobar then attempted to kill Galán's successor, Cesar Gaviria Trujillo by planting a bomb on Avianca Flight 203. Gaviria missed the flight and survived, but all 107 people on board were killed in the explosion. The bombing had significant consequences, as 2 Americans were among the victims. This led to direct intervention by the U.S. government. La Cathedral Prison. After the ordered murder of Luis Carlos Galán, President Cesar Gaviria's administration took a strong stance against Escobar and the drug cartels. Eventually, the government negotiated with Escobar, convincing him to surrender and cease all criminal activities in return for a reduced sentence and preferential treatment during his captivity. This suggestion didn't sound so bad, but on one condition: he would build his own jail, and this jail was unlike any other one. The prison featured amenities such as a bar, a football pitch, a jacuzzi, a giant dollhouse, and a waterfall. Escobar wanted to serve time on his own terms. The government agreed. So in 1991, he declared an end to his violent pressure tactics and surrendered to Colombian authorities. However, before his surrender, the newly approved Colombian Constitution of 1991 prohibited the extradition of Colombian citizens to the United States. This move was controversial, as many suspected that Escobar and other drug lords had influenced the Constituent Assembly members to pass the law. Although he was allowed to stay in La Cathedral, his luxury prison, Escobar still decided to continue his crimes from within. The news of this soon fell on the ears of the government, and they changed their mind. The government attempted to transfer him to a more conventional jail on July 22, 1992, but failed. Thanks to his influence, Escobar learned of the plan in advance and managed to escape, spending the rest of his life as a fugitive. During his family's period on the run from 1992 to 1993, Pablo Escobar reportedly burned $2 million to keep his daughter warm, and this didn't even leave a scratch on his net worth. Escobar fulfilled all of his life dreams. He gained immense wealth and became a politician, even though it was brief. He failed to do one thing though: become the president. Do you think this could have happened if Escobar had taken a step back to examine himself? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to ring the bell to get front row seats to more dark stories from the underworld.